Hello, my name is Mackenzie Gracie. I'm a third grade teacher in Iowa. The title of my research proposal is The Effects of Interactive Read Aloud on Reading Achievement in Third Grade Students. This is for Education 699 through Morningside College. I wanted to begin today by discussing the problem which prompted my research. Reading achievement at the elementary level is consistently an issue in the United States. 30 to 35% of American students are struggling in some area of reading. By third grade, students are expected to be able to read fluently. However, many students at this age are still unable to read with fluency. Fluent reading goes hand in hand with comprehension. Oftentimes, when a student is unable to read with fluency, they are also unable to make meaning of the text and comprehend what they are reading. When students lack the ability to read fluently and or to read with comprehension, often they may have reading achievements throughout their entire educations and even throughout their entire lives. When viewing the literature, there was some research located on how interactive read aloud, or IRA, could potentially affect comprehension. However, hardly any research existed on its effects on fluency. There were related studies located on reading fluency that did have a read aloud component, but it was alongside many other intervention techniques. The read aloud component was not the sole intervention being used. Bigini, Krause, Ross, and Mitchell conducted a study that focused on fluency scores. It also had a read aloud component. However, it was an alternating treatment design and had more than one treatment being used. Their results showed that repeated reading of a text proved to be more effective than the other types of interventions. Again, the read aloud was just one component of a much larger intervention with multiple methods being used. Due to this lack of research on read aloud as the sole intervention being used and its effects on fluency, more research was needed to determine whether or not IRA would positively affect fluency scores, being the sole intervention. I chose this problem because I believe that teachers should begin to try to find new and unique ways to remediate the reading achievement problem with strategies that are already being used in the classroom. I chose this topic because read aloud is so widely used in the classroom today, and I thought it would be very interesting to see how a very well-tailored read aloud program as a sole intervention could potentially affect students' fluency scores. The theoretical framework that was related to this research is the cognitive apprenticeship theory, or CA. It analyzes the embedded processes within learning. CA assumes that people learn through observation, imitation, and modeling. All three of these components are very much embedded within interactive read aloud. Students' fluency scores were positively affected by IRA, so the conclusion could be made that students did learn from the CA processes that were utilized during the method. The purpose of this study was to determine the effects of interactive read aloud on third grade reading fluency. The hypothesis was that read aloud would have a positive effect on reading fluency following a 30-day treatment. The independent variable utilized in the study was the absence or presence of interactive read aloud. The dependent variable for the study was reading fluency. Reading fluency was measured using the FastBridge CBMR screener from the fall and winter, as well as one progress monitoring data point, which was also utilized through the CBMR program via FAST. The participants of this study included 19 third grade students at a rural school district in the Midwest. Students that participated were all a part of the general education classroom. They were a random sampling of students. They included many different types of demographics, including students with IEPs, students that were bilingual, students with behavior IEPs as well. The materials used for this study included a read aloud text. The text that was used was Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. A computer was used to generate the FastBridge program online. The passages for assessments were found via FastBridge, and an interactive read aloud script was utilized. This was from the program Bookworms. And the vocabulary routine script was utilized as well, which is located within the Bookworm script. The vocabulary routine is from Isabel Beck's book, Bringing Words to Life. So the baseline phase of this procedure was measured by students completing the FAST CBMR screener in the fall. This measured the baseline, and students then completed 20 days of learning about reading strategies. This was from the first 20 days of reading grades K through 3 workshop by Fountas and Pinnell, and this was considered the control period for the study. The treatment phase was when IRA began. It was a 30-day treatment utilizing IRA instruction daily for 20 minutes. This took place during the core reading time. The teacher read aloud during these 20 minutes from Tuck Everlasting and followed a teaching script verbatim. The instruction contained lessons on efficient and effective reading skills. These skills include comprehension before, during, and after reading, questioning skills, and appropriate reading methods modeled by the teacher. The study compared the means of 3 separate data points. One group of 19 students was tested over a 6-month period of time using the FAST CBMR. The baseline scores were collected using the fall FAST screener scores. Students' FAST scores were measured during the course of the treatment phase using a progress monitoring data point, also from the FAST program. And then a final data point was collected from the winter FAST screener to gauge the effects of IRA on fluency following the treatment. 2 dependent sample t-tests were used to compare the means of the 2 periods. These 2 periods were fall to midterm and then midterm to winter. The hypothesis was, again, that IRA would have a positive effect on reading fluency. Oral reading fluency, or ORF measures, including FastBridge, are highly reliable across time points and possess moderate validity. According to the National Center on Intensive Intervention, the reliability of the FAST CBMR screener for 3rd graders was at a 0.97 coefficient and a confidence level of 0.97. ORF measures are also highly reliable and moderately valid among readers with reading disabilities and difficulties, which include students with IEPs and bilingual students, which were both present during the study. So looking at the results, the results show that student scores did not differ significantly between the fall and midterm tests when students were receiving the baseline, the control period, regular instruction, and no IRA was taking place. Student scores increased only points higher from the fall. These scores were within the normal range for 3rd graders at that point during the school year. However, the scores did not differ significantly. In contrast, the results show that student scores did differ significantly between the midterm and winter tests when IRA was actually being implemented. Student scores increased by 6 points from the midterm to the winter screener. These scores are actually above the normal range for 3rd grade students at this point during the school year. These results would show that after the treatment phase, interactive read aloud did have a positive effect on reading fluency, and that did confirm the hypothesis. Some implications can be made for teachers based on the results from this study. One implication that can be made is that read aloud can be a great way for teachers to tie in many different reading concepts into just one intervention. These concepts include fluency, comprehension, and exposure to vocabulary. Another implication that can be made is that when teachers utilize IRA in the classroom, they themselves can model effective reading strategies to their students. This allows students to then practice these effective reading strategies on their own and hopefully take those strategies into their own reading. Teachers will hopefully then see the boost of these positive reading habits and skills within their students. Third implication that can be made is that reading aloud can be much more effective and engaging for students if it's very thoughtfully planned out. IRA is excellent because it's delivered in a way that incorporates thinking aloud, discussion, word study, all seamlessly within a routine. It's very thoughtfully planned. It's very well scripted. This gives the teachers the unique opportunity to embed important lessons right into reading out loud to students. The fourth implication that can be made is that IRA should be utilized for proper periods and lengths of time. It's a process that involves scaffolding and should be taken very slowly. It should not be rushed. Rushing through the text won't prove successful for your students. The instructors should dedicate plenty of time to their reading of the entire text, at least 3 to 4 weeks. An IRA should take place every day for at least 15 to 20 minutes. And then an implication for students is that student engagement is key. When students are paying attention to the reading and are engaged in the text, they will pick up on the skills and hopefully begin to make deeper meaning and connections to the text. Some recommendations and some limitations for teachers. Numerous instructional interventions were taking place over the course of this study. So it could be possible that one of these other interventions could have positively affected fluency scores, not just the IRA intervention. Because of this, teachers should take all other interventions into account when analyzing their data. Limitations and recommendations, again, would be another one would be lack of measurement on engagement from the students. Some students might have been participating more actively than others and potentially getting more out of the intervention. It's difficult because the instructor is reading aloud and their knowledge is limited because they cannot consistently monitor student engagement. And a recommendation for students is that teachers should monitor engagement in some way. For example, maybe doing small daily check-ins or checking in with students individually throughout the intervention to track engagement in a more efficient manner. Sample size was also a limitation. Interventions often are more effective with smaller group sizes. Due to the lack of instructional time available, this intervention was delivered as a whole class intervention. However, it might have been more successful to utilize small groups when delivering this intervention, which is a recommendation for teachers to consider potentially using small groups rather than class-wide for IRA. Finally, the type of assessment used for data collection was a limitation. While CBMR is an assessment that does measure fluency, it only technically measures one specific component of fluency, which is words correct per minute. There are many other components to fluent reading. These include expression, phrasing, attention to punctuation. These components are not able to be measured using CBMR. However, they do play a large role in fluency as a whole. So teachers, it's recommended, should consider creating their own fluency assessment that assesses all different components of fluency, including the above skills and components that make fluency as a whole. So in conclusion, very few studies aim to find the effects of commonly used practices in the classroom, such as read aloud, as sole interventions and on specifically reading fluency. This study aimed to find the effectiveness of a well-tailored interactive read aloud program on fluency in young readers. The hypothesis was that IRA would have a positive effect and on reading fluency, and this hypothesis was confirmed following the intervention. More research is needed to continue to prove the effectiveness of read aloud and gauge how it can continue to encourage fluent readers at an early age. The current study should encourage educators that common utilized teaching methods can be very creatively used to remediate achievement issues happening in their classrooms.